In the second book of Samuel, we read the phrase, "How the mighty have fallen." In a time when role models are in short supply, it's sad to see someone who has earned our respect and admiration over many years be forced to retire in disgrace. That is precisely what we witnessed last week when Joe Paterno, the legendary football coach at Pennsylvania State University, was fired from a job that he held for almost half a century. Now, during his tenure as head coach, the Nittany Lions were perennial contenders for the national championship. What's more, Joe Paterno had a reputation of winning in the right way. There were no recruitment scandals, no under-the-table payoffs to star players. Paterno seemed to truly care about the young men who played for him, insisting that they also be attentive to their academic achievements. More football players graduated from Penn State than almost any other college in America. Joe Paterno was a successful man who seemed to see the bigger picture. He did not cut corners, that's what we believed. He seemed to play by the rules. It's no wonder that he was so admired, and it's also no wonder that his departure from college football under these circumstances is shocking and sad. I'm sure by now most people know the circumstances of Joe Paterno's departure. I'm sure most people have heard the tawdry tale of alleged sexual exploitation of several young boys by one of Paterno's assistant coaches. Joe Paterno knew about at least one of these allegations and reported it to a higher authority, to a higher up authority. Apparently, the university athletic director, who in turn informed the university president. However, it doesn't seem that the police were informed, and no intervention or aid was offered to the children who were allegedly abused. And which is even more remarkable, the assistant coach was allowed to continue coaching and even allowed to continue his work with disadvantaged children, which gave him the opportunity to abuse even more children. A grand jury found that by informing higher-ups at the university, Paterno had discharged his legal duty and consequently is not subject to criminal charges. The Board of Trustees of the university rightly fired Paterno last week for not having done enough, for not having used his considerable influence to pursue the matter further, for allowing the alleged abuser to continue to be associated with the team. Joe Paterno, according to the law, did what was supposed to be to be done. But according to the moral standards of most people, his actions were woefully deficient. From a hero like Joe Paterno, we expect more. Last week's Torah portion spoke about an honest man who did not personally engage in illegal or immoral behavior. However, this honest, law-abiding citizen lived in and benefited from a morally corrupt environment. I'm speaking, of course, about Lot, Abraham's nephew, who dwelled in the city of Sodom, a place known for violence, sexual immorality, and a total disregard for the rights of others. Listen to what the URJ Torah commentary says about him. Quote, Lot in many ways was the average guy. He has streaks of greatness, moments of courage, but he is all too often subject to the attractions of comfort and pleasure. These cause his downfall. End of quote. He's subject to the attractions of comfort and pleasure. Now, why did Lot live in Sodom? Probably, and I would say presumably, because of economic reasons. Now let's give Lot the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume that he didn't know the kind of town Sodom was before he moved there. But we have to ask another question. When he did find out, when he lived there for a while and he saw the corruption of that city, why didn't he leave? The answer seems obvious. He was making a nice living. He had a comfortable life there. His uncle Abraham, in contrast, chose to live in the Negev, a place where it was much harder to make a living, but a place that was not corrupt. Now, it's possible that while living in Sodom, Lot was much wealthier than his uncle the shepherd. Both were honest men, but only Abraham was a righteous man. The difference was Abraham did not benefit, even indirectly, from corruption. Everything that he made, every bit of wealth that he acquired honestly, and the sources could in no way be traced to corruption. Abraham chose not only to refrain from immoral and dishonest behavior himself, he didn't even allow himself to benefit indirectly from such behavior. Lot, an honest man, chose to live in a corrupt city, to be part of a morally flawed society. Lot closed his eyes and chose not to challenge the evil that was all around him until it was too late. Our tradition teaches us that Lot was blameless in a legal sense, but he could not be considered a righteous person because he failed to ask himself the difficult questions, the moral and ethical questions that everyone should ask him or herself. And Joe Paterno, likewise, was blameless perhaps in a legal sense, but was not a righteous man because he failed to ask difficult questions. Questions like, is my looking away from the evil around me helping to perpetuate that evil? Questions like, am I courageous enough to oppose a morally bankrupt system that provides me with wealth, power, and prestige? These questions challenge every person who wants to live a righteous life. It's not enough just to obey the law. True righteousness calls on us to live by the Talmudic code, Lifnin Mishurat Adin, which means going beyond the measure of the law, going beyond what the law requires, and to ask the moral and ethical questions and to act as morally and ethically as we can. Joe Paterno, in this sad episode, failed to do that. And he, like Lot in the Bible, was blameless in a legal sense, but was not a righteous man because he avoided the moral and ethical questions. I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion. I didn't comment on it, but I hope that you will read Chayei Sarah and consider it carefully and make some interesting conclusions of your own. Shabbat Shalom.
רצון לפי והגיון ליבי לפניך יהיו לרצון לפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי Adonai Tzuri